Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar, and thank you for joining us for the analysis of our Payroll Report and Salary Guide 2018. By way of brief introduction, my name is Helen Livesey. I'm the Director of Haze Payroll Management, and I'm also joined today by Paul Schofield, who's our Shared Service Centre Director. To kick off though, I'll be running you through some of the findings of our report, including the payroll recruitment market, payroll salaries, what skills you need to future-proof your payroll department, and providing you with recommendations as to how you can attract top payroll talent in these skills-short times. I'll then hand over to Paul, who'll be talking to you about our own payroll department here at Haze, and this will be followed by a question and answer session. For this report, we surveyed nearly 450 payroll employers and professionals from organisations of all different sizes across all different sectors, and from both in-house payroll departments and outsourced bureaus. The first of our findings was a very positive one. As you're all probably aware, payroll employers are really optimistic about business activity for the year ahead. A huge 93% of payroll employers we surveyed stated that their organisation's business activity had increased or stayed the same in the last 12 months. When asked about anticipated business activity levels for the year, this figure even rose higher to 96%. This level of optimism and expected activity is probably unsurprising. A recent flurry of new legislation changes, including IR35, gender pay gap reporting, GDPR and pension auto-enrolment, has resulted in the payroll function being increasingly perceived as not just simply essential, but a key strategic priority, the front line of ensuring compliance for every organisation. In tandem with this positive outlook, payroll recruitment is firmly on the agenda, with nearly half of the employees increasing their payroll headcount in the last year alone. So who exactly are payroll employers like yourselves looking to hire? Let's break down the payroll qualifications, experience and skill set that are most in demand currently. 3/4 of payroll employers look for candidates with payroll professional qualifications when hiring. Of those, 73% want candidates with a payroll technician certificate, and 62% look for a foundation degree in payroll management. Our survey showed that the top reasons most employers believe payroll candidates should undertake further formal qualifications included helping prove a professional is committed to their self-improvement, helping professionals keep up with all of the changes affecting the profession, and ensuring their candidates stand out from their peers when looking to hire or promote. 10% also stated that formal qualifications can help professionals keep up with all of the technological advances and changes that are happening in the payroll world, and also improve their competence with the latest payroll systems. These reasons are likely why over half of the employers stated that they would offer a higher base salary to a candidate that had a CIPP qualification. However, over 1/3 of employers found that applicants in the last year lacked the necessary qualifications. In fact, less than 20% of the payroll professionals we surveyed held a payroll technician certificate, and only 22% held the foundation degree. So competition for professionally qualified candidates is going to be really, really fierce. In addition to qualifications, varied payroll experience is also very highly in demand by employers. Over 1/3 of those who hired in the past year said that payroll applicants lacked sector-specific experience. Furthermore, 80% of payroll employers stated that experience processing different payroll sizes was really important when hiring. 78% said the same about candidates with experience processing different types of payroll, so they wanted candidates that had both temporary or permanent experience on the payroll, different frequencies, hours, daily, etc. Of course, qualifications and technical experience aren't the only qualities that payroll employers will look for. Employers also wanted core skills, general but transferable competencies which every payroll professional should either already possess or be trying to develop. These included skills such as real attention to detail, effective communication and commercial awareness, And in fact, 77% of those we surveyed stated that they would hire a payroll professional with the ideal combination of core skills, but actually fewer qualifications or less payroll experience if they felt they fitted the department. Looking at the exact core skills in demand the most, employers required a different combination depending on the seniority of the role. As we can see from this slide, for the more junior payroll positions, the most in demand was attention to detail, problem solving, reliability and honesty and communication. But for middle management roles, they were looking for communication, commercial awareness and attention to detail. And the very senior roles, so like a head of payroll or a payroll manager's job, they were looking for leadership and project management, commercial awareness and strategic thinking. With specific regard to legislation knowledge, 45% of employers stated that GDPR had been and will be the most single challenging piece of legislation to implement this year. This was followed by pension auto-enrolment and gender pay gap reporting and then IR35. As a result, candidates with comprehensive and operational understanding, knowledge or experience of these pieces of legislation may find themselves in higher demand, particularly for the senior roles. However, there are considerable challenges to payroll recruitment in the current market. In fact, 90% of employers stated that they found recruiting payroll professionals either challenging or somewhat challenging. The most notable challenge to recruitment was the skill shortages that there are. A huge 89% of employers have experienced a shortage of suitable payroll applicants when hiring in the past year. The roles cited as the most difficult to fill were actually the payroll administrator vacancies and the senior payroll administrators. So the current payroll recruitment market is characterised by a combination of skill shortages coupled with an increasing demand for top payroll talent to manage company growth and to ensure compliance with the new regulations. The net result is that you need to carefully position yourself as an employer of choice in order to beat the competition to attract the best candidates to you. So how can you do this? What is it that payroll professionals actually want in the market? First, you should ensure your employees are supported in their ambitions to learn and develop. 80% of payroll professionals who want to undertake further formal qualifications stated that they faced obstacles on their path towards achieving this. Of these, nearly 2/3 were worried about the impact upon their time and workload, and roughly the same number found a lack of personal funds a real challenge. Over a quarter said they faced a lack of support from their employers. It therefore stands to reason that employers who support their employees' aims of gaining further qualifications, such as the 24% of professionals who want to complete a foundation degree in payroll management, should offer realistic solutions to help them in this endeavour. This may be by offering financial support or flexible hours during this time, and employers will really benefit from a more knowledgeable workforce and attract and retain ambitious and driven payroll talent in their organisations. When it comes to improving core skills, over a quarter of professionals think that on-the-job learning is the best way to develop these, followed by working with key departments or functions outside of payroll. And formal training and coaching by a third party is also key. In order to attract new talent and upskill your current workforce, you may want to formalise your development opportunities and consider giving staff the opportunity to work with other departments in the business or offering training days with the support of a third party. Not only will such opportunities be really attractive to potential candidates in your current workforce, but they'll also make your department become really commercially aware and therefore becoming more strategic decision makers with a better understanding of wider business challenges. Payroll professionals are also really ambitious. 27% of those we surveyed aspired to be a payroll manager in the future. 27% wanted to be a head of payroll and 4% wanted to get to board level. In tandem with this really ambitious nature, most payroll professionals also expected relatively quick progression within an organisation. Nearly half expected to be in a role just 1 to 2 years before they would want to be promoted, and 20% believe that promotion should occur between 6 months to a year in a role. In contrast, though, most employers believe payroll employees should be in a role between 2 to 5 years before promotion, and only 4% think promotion should come after 6 months to a year. However, employers should remain mindful of these ambitious candidates and be very transparent with regard to progression opportunities within their organisations. They should provide clear objectives required to achieve a promotion and offer regular and comprehensive opportunities to review these, by ensuring professionals are aware of the timelines and requirements to get to their goal. This will also alleviate mismatches. 53% of employers anticipate their payroll employees will see an average salary increase of up to 2.5%, and 20% foresee salary increases of up to 5%. In light of these expected salary increases, it's important that payroll employers benchmark their salaries so they do not lose out on prospective candidates to competitors offering better pay. This is especially important in the light of the increased payroll salaries in the recent years. In our latest Haze UK salary guide, payroll salaries actually rose by a massive 4.2% in the last year, and it's actually the highest overall increase in the whole of the accounting and finance sector. So payroll salaries are growing and have been growing year on year for the past 7 years, which I'm sure you'll all be delighted to hear. So how much exactly have payroll salaries risen by in each sector? As we mentioned, our Haze UK salary guide found that payroll has seen the highest wage inflation within all roles we examined across the whole of the accounting and finance sector at 4.2%. But as you can see, it was actually the payroll team leaders who have seen salary offers which have increased as much as 8.2%. Average salaries also increased well above inflation for payroll managers, payroll clerks, and sole charge payrollers. Sole charge payrollers have seen a massive increase in demand as many SME organisations look to bring back their payroll function back in-house. So, to recap on our report findings, payroll business activity continues to increase, largely thanks to the new legislation impacting the function. However, acute skill shortages threaten to challenge recruitment plans, which may have a significant impact on those payroll departments looking to keep up with growth plans. Organisations can position themselves as an employer of choice and attract and retain the best quality candidates by 3 different things. Firstly, support payroll professionals in their aim to further their qualifications by offering realistic solutions to help them. This could be offering financial support or flexible hours whilst they are undertaking their qualification. They should also look to improve their core skill development, such by offering on-the-job training, on-the-job learning, providing staff with the opportunity to work with other different departments in a business or work with a third party and offer formal coaching, or send them on to training courses offered by organisations such like the CIPP. Secondly, always remember that there's a real mismatch between professionals' progression expectations and the employer's attitudes on progression. Employers want to attract and retain top payroll talent should be mindful of their employees' ambitions, and they should be really transparent with regard to their progression opportunities within your organisation. They should provide clear objectives regarding to the promotion and offer regular and comprehensive opportunities to review these. Offering both development opportunities and clear progression pathways will be especially helpful to those employers wanting to attract the best talent and perhaps be unable to keep up with the spiralling wage inflation. And finally, they should aim to benchmark their salaries in line with the industry average, especially in light of the incredible average salary increases so they don't lose out to the competition if they're offering higher money. And that's the end of my presentation on the payroll report, but I'm now going to hand over to our guest speaker, Paul Schofield. He is the director of our Shared Service Centre in Surrey, and he's going to talk to you about how Haze have built and retained our payroll talent pool over the years here at Haze. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Helen. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So I'm going to take you through the Haze payroll case study. And so on the first slide there, you can see, so Haze have been a market leader for 50 years in the recruitment industry. I've been working for Haze for 29 of those 50 years, and have always been heavily involved with the payroll department, having managed it for a number of years. I did my foundation, my CIPP foundation degree nearly 20 years ago now, and now as the SSC director, I've got ultimate responsibility. As I go through the slides, I'll reference a number of points where Haze have been able to achieve certain objectives that are made possible by the resources that are available to us, that we've got on hand, based on the sheer size of the operation. And I appreciate for some of you, some of these things may not be possible, but what I've tried to do is keep them so that they're scalable for you, and at the very least, hopefully they'll be thought-provoking. The Haze payroll is extremely high profile, and it's pivotal, obviously, to our business model. We do strive to be best in class. It's a very big payroll, and we obviously consider paying our temp workers on time of the utmost importance here, and are always looking to improve process. We work very closely with CIPP, and as recently as 2016, we won the in-house payroll team of the year, which obviously we're very proud of. So just as the business has grown, our systems have evolved. If I think about my time here, I've been involved in 4 payroll system implementations in my time, and we're currently running on the PeopleSoft payroll. And the payroll transition over that time has been from a very manual paper-based timesheet processing operation to a very automated process, which obviously is different. And payroll core functions have developed as new legislation's been introduced, e.g. things like workplace pension and employers' intermediary reporting. And due to the nature of the temporary workforce, we're affected not just by changes to PAYE, but there's a lot of legislative changes that affect our contractor workforce, working through personal service companies and umbrella limited companies, as well as having challenges like the construction industry scheme. So these changes often give rise to projects of varying sizes, and therefore our staffing requirements have changed to take place of this activity. So as far as the current Haze payroll is concerned, something Helen mentioned earlier, what payroll professionals are looking for with the varied experience that they seek. And at Haze, we're able to offer the payroll staff experience on working on large and smaller payrolls with different frequencies and also different levels of complexity. So recently, if you look at the 2 payrolls, the 2 key payrolls we've got are the temp payroll one there, which is a weekly payroll, and obviously our staff payroll. We pay our staff on a 4-weekly basis. Recently, we've successfully implemented migrating our staff payroll to PeopleSoft, having had the temporary payroll on PeopleSoft for a number of years now. Our common practice is to recruit junior staff. Helen was talking earlier, obviously, about the different levels of payroll professionals. And what we tend to do here at Haze is take on more junior payroll professionals, and then what we tend to do with those is, so we can train them up, we assess their skill set as they progress through the ranks within the payroll team. And I'm proud to say that our average length of service within the payroll team is actually 12 years at the moment, which I think is quite an achievement within itself. So building and retaining this talent pool that Helen referenced earlier. So motivation and development are obviously key to our team's success. And over the years, as the payroll team has changed we've created this talent pool. We mentioned earlier that 27% of payroll professionals aspire to be payroll managers, but there's obviously a bigger number, the 73%, and we need to look at how we keep those people motivated and interested here in the Haze payroll department. So what we tend to do is create a career path development, and generally that goes one of two ways. We look at people at their skill set and whether they're more of a people manager or whether they're going to become a technical expert. What's important there is that both parties agree this path and the reasons behind the decision. And sometimes that does take a little while for either us or them to realise exactly where their skill set lies. Challenging people and creating SMEs or subject matter experts in the team. So having reviewed the skill sets of the individuals, we create development plans with the team. And often these individuals become subject matter experts within the team, and this generally helps people to feel more valued as well. We mentioned earlier in Helen's slides the importance of legislative awareness, and we find that these legislative changes create great opportunities for career development and keeping people interested. And I've just put together a couple of those that we've actually, the opportunities that we've been able to provide over recent years. So something we do here on PeopleSoft payroll is we want to keep on the latest version possible. So what we have is upgrades through the year. We call them pillars, and there are 2 or 3 of them usually in the 12-month period, and this gives a great opportunity to get people involved in keeping PeopleSoft current for us. Clearly, IR35 is quite topical at the moment, and we've had recent changes to the construction industry scheme, whereby we look at worker statuses and how they can actually have their payroll processed. We get people involved in PASS, so the Payroll Assurance Scheme, and CIPP accreditation, similar ones. And what people generally get involved in is making sure the documentation is kept up to date so that when we go for the renewal, we're in a really good place. We're lucky enough to have a very supportive and attractive study package. And we find that assigning a mentor often helps with studying, not just for the mentee, but it's a great development opportunity for people to become mentors as well. Earlier in Helen's presentation, she mentioned how in demand qualified candidates are, and therefore keeping these people motivated for us is paramount. So the last thing I was going to say, which is again is a bit of a luxury for us, but on occasions we've actually had payroll professionals that have decided to take a slightly different career path, and recently we've had 2 of our payroll people move into our credit control team and actually have made a very successful transition, and that again is something we're particularly proud of. And just going back on my earlier point where I realised that not everyone has these resources available to them, we're lucky to have unlimited access to in-house training and development that people can tap into and enhance their skill set. And this training that we offer covers a wide variety of topics, but also things like soft skills development and certain aspects of management training as well. We recently had an example of an individual who actually had been with us for a number of years, very tried and tested SME, but mutually agreed with us that probably didn't aspire to be a payroll manager. And if I'm perfectly honest, I think his skill set, I think he was right. He probably wasn't payroll manager material, but a fantastic candidate. And using the experience that he gained and the training that he'd taken on himself with the training team, he was able to make a significant impact in assisting the payroll manager when we recently transferred our payroll. And the areas that were particularly noticeable was his involvement in the planning phase, so things like the test plans, writing those test scripts up, which not everyone is good at, and it's a skill set within itself. So he was very instrumental in that test phase. And also, at the back end of the process, he was very instrumental also in doing some of the staff training, because again, that was a skill that he'd developed over a number of years. So finally then, just as a wrap up, the benefits to Haze. So obviously we've got a highly motivated, well-trained and confident team that I'm particularly proud of. We have a variety of SMEs across the payroll team who can be called upon. A flexible workforce, I think, that allows movement across teams if required. And I think most importantly, the ability to meet these unexpected challenges quickly, working with internal and external teams. So we're all aware that HMRC seems to be bombarding us now with legislative changes, probably rather more quick than maybe 20 or 25 years ago. And I think we're able to meet those demands. And just as a bit of a wrap up, really, we feel that some of the detail I've given you there puts us in a very strong position going forward. And whilst there are always changes on the horizon, we feel we're in a really good place at the moment. Back to you, Helen, I think.
Thank you, Paul. I'm now going to open up the floor to any questions for either myself or our speaker, Paul. So if you have any questions, please put them in the question and answer box on your screen. I have had one come through so far, which came through a little bit earlier, which was actually for Paul rather than myself, and it was asking the question, how do you see the payroll world changing in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think what I would say about that, Helen, is I'll probably look at how it's changed in the last 10, and then I'm going to probably times that by 2 or 3. And I think the way it will change is that we've been talking a lot today about subject matter experts, and I think the one thing that we've tried to do is develop these people so that these legislative changes that we're getting coming through thick and fast now. You know, I remember a time where we'd get a legislative change every couple of years and it would be fairly minor. I know in the Haze payroll team we're dealing with a lot of contractor issues as well, but I think really it's about making sure that you're sort of armed with these people around you that can take on what I would describe as mini projects. So I think, you know, if your payroll skill set is maybe not to be a payroll manager, for instance, for us, this SME role is really key, and it's amazing the impact these people have on these projects. So I think it's going to get tougher, but I think if you've got the right people in place, you know, you can put yourself in a really good position.
Okay, we've had another question come through, which is actually for myself, which is, you could actually answer it as well, Paul, but it's asking why do we here at Haze feel there's been such a real sort of demand for payroll staff. So basically I've been at Haze 18 years now, but for the last 8 years I've been solely dedicated to pure payroll recruitment and obviously running the division, and I've seen it sort of get busier and busier across that 8-year period, and every month that passes, the demand for staff is just greater and greater, which is fantastic, really, because I'm assuming all of the people on this call, I appreciate you are probably clients looking to recruit, but equally on the flip side, you could potentially be a candidate one day, and everybody wants to know that the job that they do is very much in demand out there. And here at Haze, I would say, and it's a bold statement to make, but I would say that when a vacancy comes in, I'm probably less excited than when a brilliant candidate walks through the door, because there are simply more opportunities than there are quality candidates. And we feel it is, like Paul mentioned earlier, it's just simply down to the fact that payroll departments seem to get lumped with more and more work, and you've got all these legislation changes, you've got constant systems being upgraded, there's so much going on, and I just seem to find that whereas sometimes I'll look at something and think, oh, I would imagine that would be given to a HR department, I just feel the payroll department seems to end up getting everything. And with GDPR as an example, you would automatically think, oh, that's something that the HR department would deal with. But when I've been speaking to clients across the UK, and certainly the ones here in Birmingham, which is where I'm based, it seems to fall on the payroll manager and the heads of payroll sort of lap, really. So I think it is simply just because there are so few candidates out there. There are so many opportunities. With all of the changes that have been happening, I think organisations are really beginning to value quality payroll departments, and it's just meant that the salaries have rocketed. And when I started here in Birmingham, when I started recruiting for pure payroll 8 years ago, you could probably get a quality payroll clerk for 23k. You'd struggle to get one for less than 28k here in the centre of Birmingham. So it just goes to show that, if you are a quality candidate, the world is your oyster, really. So I hope that answers that question for you. There's another question that we've had. This one is going to be for you, Paul. It asks, what would you say your main challenges have been given the size of payroll department that you manage? So what would you say is, I guess, your main challenges that I think that's what the person's asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main challenges that we have here is, so our split of our temporary payroll is that we have about half of it on PAYE, and then the other, we've probably got about a quarter on umbrella companies, and we've got about a quarter on personal service companies. And they all form, it's all part of the payroll function. So you kind of got three different dynamics there, and the skill set to work on those payrolls is a little bit different. So I think the challenges there at Haze with the agency style payroll is that it's very diverse, and whilst it offers a great opportunity for people coming in, and there's lots of things to get to grips with, and we can certainly offer most people who come in, half of the things we do might be a little bit different, and we're dealing with different pay types, etc. And I think it's the fact that this legislation keeps coming in. It might be umbrellas, it might be personal service companies. So if we go back to 2014, umbrella companies, the travel and subsistence tax efficiency was removed. That caused us. That was a big project. Then we had IR35 a couple of years ago, and it's loitering again for next April. Plus, as you guys out there that are dealing with PAYE all the time, you know what's coming there. We've had pensions. It is coming from all angles, Helen, I think, is my answer. And that's where the challenge is. And that's why I think, just going back to the last question you answered, it's difficult to recruit people because we're looking for so much more.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've had another question which I think is probably directed more to myself, and it's from a lady that says, do you see employers offering flexibility on working, such as a 4-day working week to attract skilled payroll workers? Oh, blimey, I'd like to see if I could apply that to recruitment as well. I quite fancy a 4-day working week myself. I would say, I would love to sit here and say that that every employer will offer that, and I can see your point entirely, and I do think that should be made available, because if you are looking for candidates out there when there's not many of them, then you need to be as flexible as you can be to attract the best people. However, I currently have some absolutely brilliant part-time candidates who are registered to me that want either 3.5 days or 4 days a week, and it isn't easy to find them opportunities because they're just, I don't know what it is. I think in payroll departments, I think organisations worry about those staff working reduced hours, because I think with payroll in particular, it's the type of job where they feel they need somebody there at all times should a problem occur, because obviously at the end of the day, people go to work to earn their salary, and if their salary then isn't paid for whatever reason, there's a problem, you want to know there's somebody at the end of the phone that can answer that problem. So I would like to sit here and say, yes, all of my clients, here in Birmingham and across the whole of the UK would offer such a such an opportunity, but and I hope maybe in time they do, but if I was to be brutally honest, I would say it happens really infrequently, and it would be lovely if they did, because you could argue you could do technically 4 days work. You could do 5 days work, in 4 days, and just increase the hours you do on those 4 days. But I think it's just they want physical bodies in the office. But as I say, it's something I speak to clients about all the time, but often it's not. They don't like me mentioning it, if I'm honest. So I hope that answers your question. And then I've had another question for you, Paul, and it's saying, as you run obviously a large temp payroll, how do you handle your most complex payroll queries?
Okay, yes. So the most complex payroll queries are dealt with on our call centre, which is about 10 feet away from the core of our payroll department. And I think I'll share some of the challenges with you around that. Is that, so as an example, our agents probably take somewhere between 30 and 40 calls a day. Some of them are more simple, some of them are more complex. We set up a call centre, a very lightweight one, if I'm honest, about 20 years ago, and particularly in the last 10 years, this is an area that we've heavily focused on, and keeping people updated with all the changes and the systems. That's a big challenge for our people on the call centre. There's lots of places that you need to go to find the information, but that's how we deal with it. We deal with it on a call centre. If I think back, my 29 years ago, we dealt with them via a hunt group around the department, and yeah, very, very, very different. But I think if you're in that kind of arena where you're dealing with big numbers, it's something I'd certainly recommend. And thinking about it, when we did set it up, I think we started with about 2 people or something, and just filtered various calls into there. So hopefully that's answered your question.
Yeah. I've had another question come through asking, obviously I spoke quite a bit in the presentation about qualifications. He's asking, do I know how long it takes to do the CIPP qualification? It takes 3 years to do, and if that particular person wants to get in touch with me, I can give them more information about that and put them in touch with the CIPP. The CIPP are actually based here in the Midlands, so I'll give out my contact details at the end of this Q&A, and you can get in touch with me if you want more information on that. Are there any other questions out there? Because I haven't had any more come through. No. Okay, I'll just wrap up and give you all my contact details. If you do have any questions, if you quickly type them and get them in time, and then I can quickly do them at the end. But my contact details, if you do want to get in touch with me here at Haze, if you have any questions that you would want to have a private chat with me or what have you, it's helen.livesey@haze.com. So it's Helen, spelled how you'd expect, and then it's .LIV for Victor, ESEY @Haze, which is HAYS.com. My telephone number, which is my direct dial, is 0844 778 2376. I'm also on LinkedIn if you want to link in with me after this call, and you can have obviously conversations with me on LinkedIn. That's no problem. And then also you can also download a copy of the guide that I've spoken about today, which is www.haze.co.uk/payroll-salary-guide. Haze are also on LinkedIn as a Haze UK worldwide, and we are the most followed recruitment agency in the whole of the world, and I think we've got something like 1.7 million followers. You can also get us on Twitter, Facebook, and we're also, you can find us, we do blogs on our haze.co.uk website. So I hope you found today's session a real useful insight into payroll recruitment and how to attract the best talent. And I'd also really like to thanks Paul Schofield for obviously giving us an insight into our own payroll department. Thank you all guys for dialing in. And as I say, if ever any one of you have got any questions or you need me, please don't hesitate to get in touch. So if you'd like to request a copy, go onto the Haze website, download the guide, and it'll all be there for you. Thank you very much for today, and get in touch if you need us. Take care. Bye-bye.